Hello.
Hey, hey, hey. How are
How
you
are
doing?
you? I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Oh man, this is good. That's good. You doing okay? Yeah. So I'm already done hit the record button. We can get started.
Let's go.
All right. So we'll start this bad boy off with a small introduction of you, who you are, what you do now, and how things are looking up for you. So you got the flow.
Nice. Well, picture this.
Hmm.
15 years ago, I was spiritually, physically, relationally, financially bankrupt. Um, you talk about mental health. Well, I was addicted to illegal drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, and was drinking too much, smoking, and had just opened a restaurant. Well, in 2008, had opened a restaurant, and the economy crashed. And my identity was all wrapped up in who I was as a professional,
Hmm.
without doing any personal work. And had struggled all my life with insecurity, trying to fit in, and really just didn't know who I was, why I was created, and what my purpose was on this planet. So fast forward to 2026, and life has changed. I've got a new life in Christ. Um, been married 11 years, and
All right.
we have a blended family of 6 kids. We have one daughter-in-law, two son-in-laws, two granddaughters, two grandsons on the way this summer,
Mm.
and I've written a book and talking about some of my past struggles and the lessons I learned, and have swum 6 of the 7 ocean sevens, 7 of the hardest swims in the world that include
Hmm.
the English Channel, the Kauai Channel from Molokai to Oahu. And the Kauai Channel we actually did a documentary on that was never planned. It was a friend of mine decided to do it, and
Yeah.
we got it on Amazon. And that stuff's all fine and dandy, but the big stuff is, I got asked last week. So it's funny, we talk about drugs and alcohol and mental health.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that rocked me in my life was when my non-biological sister Laura passed of ALS, and then my dad passed like 8 weeks later in 2022. And I like my mind was scrambled like I was back on drugs. And I'm 13 years clean, no problems. But what was really scary was I was still going through all my daily habits and disciplines. And after like 4 or 5 months, I turned to my bride, my Callie, and said, I feel so empty and dark inside. She's like, I can't tell. She had no idea. And it scared the living tar out of me because I was like, oh my gosh, I was acting like a user and just making out like everything's okay on the outside, or on the inside, I'm just cracking. And so
Wow.
that got me back in counseling of how to effectively communicate what's going on inside of me. So that's kind of like a quick overview. I sometimes I like the sound of my own voice, sometimes I don't, and I could go on and on. But I think that's the overview. Um, and I think one thing I'd like to share too is people say, "Well,
Mhm.
you've done these hard swims. Is that the hardest thing you've ever done in life?" I was like, going through grief breaking addiction was the third hardest thing I've ever gone through.
Mhm.
Couple that with divorce. Number two was grief. And number one, hardest thing was dropping my kids off after visitation. That still gets me to this day, like still just thinking about that.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. I have a 5-year-old daughter, so I can understand how with the, you know, visitations and stuff like that. Like I have my daughter like every weekend. I have her every weekend. And um, I'll spend as much time with her as I can and stuff like that. and I'll get her from school Monday through Friday. And, that's pretty much the base of what I have with her, so to speak. And one of the things that, emotionally gets to me is how distant we used to be. And now that our bond has, gotten a lot more closer and better. And, that makes me proud to say that.
Mhm.
And because of that, I'm able to actually just, be happy inside, but still feel at the same time, not because of her, but feel more empty and stuff like that. It's a hit or miss thing for me in those situations. And you mentioned something about emptiness. How did the emptiness make you feel? Did it make you feel lonely in a sense? Like, even though you still had people, surrounding you, or did it just make you feel like that, you just really just felt empty? How did it make you feel in that sense?
So the first, I would say, after my dad passed, the first
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks were everything was so fast
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
moments I can think about were really slow. But
Yeah.
then because my mom and dad live in Scotland, so we had
Mm-hmm.
gone home, and you know, uh, that's the first time I've gone home and he's not there. And
Yeah.
so just walking through those emotions of, uh, you know, the cemetery, the service, the friends that I haven't seen in a few years, and that was all so very surreal, like very slow moving, but um, there was almost like a comfortably numb going on. Like I'm like, it's hard to explain that one.
Sure, I understand.
But when I came back, my brain was like I was struggling to hold on to thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'm working and I'm doing what I can, but like I'm just kind of like on edge and don't know don't know if I'm coming or going really. Like I just felt like I was flapping. So I got back into my routine as fast as possible. And actually that was when I booked the swim for Hawaii. Um, for the next year because I was like, I need
Mm.
something to pull me forward. I mean, I'm leaning into my faith, I'm reading, I'm praying, I'm
Yeah.
communicating with my bride, but she's uptight because um, she doesn't know how to help me. My father-in-law, he was like, I just don't know how to help Steve. You could tell I was hurting, but I couldn't put it
Mm-hmm.
into words. And
Mm-hmm.
then we'd gone from Scotland to Michigan. We were in Michigan for about a month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And then we came back home to Greenville, South Carolina. And that's when the darkness started going in. And I was like, I really felt like I'd been robbed of joy. Like I
Man.
couldn't hear birds, I couldn't really see colors, things that I enjoyed. I was just doing and going through the motions.
Man.
I was maybe because of all the years of being an addict, like I was
Mm-hmm.
just really good at putting on a show too, and not even realizing that was
Mm-hmm.
my default system. But I got into counseling, and she was great. She just started like talking me through more than just the grief, like
Right.
life and
Mm-hmm.
the whole Steve, like the whole Steve, because Steve had gone through really great spiritual mentorship in
Mm-hmm.
2011, 12, 13 that really got me comfortable like being in my own skin. I was like, I'm, I don't know why the Lord created me. I feel like I'm here to serve others and to make physical, emotional, and uh, physical and emotional environments better than I leave them better than I found them. Like, things were kind of rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was interesting to see how quickly something major can just expose it really it expose you and
Yes.
you're like,
Yes.
man, I was not prepared for that. And I really thought I was kind of prepared for it. And there was no regrets. I had great conversations with my dad. I'd had another 10 years, or really 12 years of them with me being healthy
Yep.
for the first time in 20 years. And
Hmm.
so like we're like to suddenly find myself in this place where I'm like not really understanding what's going on inside of me. It was confusing. It was confusing because I'm like, hey, I've got a beautiful wife, we've got great kids, like um we were coming out of COVID, 2022. So
Right.
that was tough. But overall, if you looked at my life, you'd be like, hey, it wasn't like I was making survival decisions, like going from one drug to the next or making one bad decision to the next, just to feel
Hmm.
like I was in control. Um, but yeah, it was that lack of joy,
Right. Right.
and not and it didn't feel like I could fix it, you know.
And, and that's what it kind of felt like with addiction too. It kind of feels like that it's hard to get yourself out of because of how so powerful it is. And I have to ask you this because I think that there's so many opinions about it, but everybody has like same thoughts about it. The addiction. Did the addictions make you feel like your real powerful self, or did you feel powerful and weak at the same time?
I've never been asked that one before. So I think in the very beginning, when I first like when the first time I smoked pot, it was to fit in.
Sure,
It was
sure.
insecure, like I just wanted to be accepted. It was because
Hmm.
I didn't really accept myself.
Right.
Now, the first time I did a powerful drug, I was like, oh man, I feel good.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Right.
Superman.
Hmm.
But then it was like I never really got addicted to one thing. I got addicted to not wanting to feel life that I was living.
Hmm.
Um, it was escape for me. Um, you know, and yeah, it was definitely escape for me. Powerful and weak in the same pro. I mean, gosh, yeah, I could see that. I've never really thought about that. Yeah, there was like this ego that you're like, I can go harder and faster and longer for anyone, you
Yeah.
know, until you come
Yeah.
along with someone who's like,
Yeah.
goes harder and longer fast, because there's always someone that's better, and
Yeah.
everything, and
Hmm.
unless you're MG. But yeah, I just couldn't. That's an interesting question, man. Yeah, I would say I definitely was looking to. No, no, no. This is it. This is it. I
Okay.
was looking to feel powerful
I
while
can agree.
trying to escape
Yeah.
who I was.
I can agree.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. I, sometimes you get the feeling of just, it's like you just said, like you really wanted to fit in and like you wanted to be part of the cool people that actually just doing what everybody else is doing. And yes, it's not never a good thing to follow other people, but as they always say, it's always good to, be a leader, to actually, lead a pack to positive things. And the addiction portion of that really takes away the ability to, lead in a way. And it's it's all about how we as men, as we're, dads, we're husbands, and everything else that we're actually doing, we're actually just sitting and, you know, having people look upon us. They're looking for us to, lead. They're looking for us to have stability. They're looking for us to have, everything else that most people will look up to, especially kids. And that's the best example of, trying to take accountability for um, the addiction. Did you ever feel like that your addiction was contradicting your accountability? Like you really didn't want to lean on that side, but at the same time, you knew it's like, okay, this is my breaking point and I got to actually do it.
Yeah. So it was like at first it just I started off trying to fit in, and then it was just the party, like
Mm-hmm.
it's the party. But for some of us, the party doesn't end,
Sure. Sure
you
enough.
know, and it just gets more deep rooted, more deep rooted, more deep rooted. And for some, the party ends, or they are able to manage it. But there's no managing
Mm-hmm.
for me. Something you said
Right.
about being leaders and followers, I was like, I was thinking of salmon. Salmon all run together back to where they were born, and they were made, designed, and created to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas as humans, like we're individually created. God only creates one of us.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get identical twins, but you're not 100% identical. So if God only created one of you, like, why would you be living a life exactly the same as someone else?
Yeah. Yeah.
He has given you special gifts, talents to use for his glory to serve others. But yeah, the whole leadership. I don't even know if I'm answering your question anymore because I got into this leadership. I was like, leadership, let's go.
Yeah. Go
But
ahead, man. Free him up, man. Do what you
yeah,
got to do.
yeah. So this leadership thing is really interesting because I'm like, once as men we can figure out how to lead ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
then you start moving into a spot where you can lead others. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, what you see a lot of times is men learn how to lead in business
Yeah.
with no clue how to lead at at home or in relationships or in with parenting, and either why you've not been given good examples, or you just
Yeah.
haven't paid attention, or you're just so leaned into the big old fat beautiful lie of like I'm working for my family, you know, when your family does not care what you do. They
Mm-hmm.
just want you. And I
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of leadership. The problem is a lot of leadership, especially in businessmen,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to lean into the thing we know the best
Yeah.
instead of leaning into things that we're actually not good at that could help us become even better leaders in the workplace. Because I think
Yeah.
that a man who can effectively lead himself spiritually, physically, relationally, financially, daily disciplines and habits to learn and grow and and be part of a life that he's not trying to escape, that man is connected enough to be able to lead in business and in work and have effective conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, Steve, what are you talking about? You're talking in jargon. Okay, so how many men do you know between the age of 40 and 60 who build businesses and um, or have been through rehabs? If you look at the top CEOs in the country, tons of them gone through rehab two, three times. Divorces, rampant. So you're losing half your business right there. Boom, there you go.
Yep.
Half your
Mm-hmm.
assets. Health, you may be doing great in those other things, but you're unhealthy. And if you're unhealthy physically, that affects you mentally, and
Yeah.
that affects how you treat people as
Right.
well. So,
Right.
so like when I talk about the person, I talk about the person as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
and in that self-leadership kind of area. And it all comes down to like, what who are you, who Do you know why you are here? Do you know who you're building? Do you know what you're building? Do you know your gifts, your talents, your skills, so that you can effectively serve other people? So again, so you're not trying to escape the life that you've created or that you're in,
Mhm.
you know? So yeah, that's I love talking about leadership.
I do too. I dabble in that too. And I'm going to ask you this, and
mm,
this is how I'm going to do this. So there are real leaders, but then there are fake leaders.
okay.
Now, when we're talking about the difference between real leaders and fake leaders, what stands out between a real leader that can step up versus a fake leader that just actually steps in and pretend to insert themselves? And that, in a way makes it a bad image. You know what I mean?
Okay. So I would say I don't know about fake.
Yeah.
I would change that word to effective and ineffective,
Mm-hmm.
or even self-deceptive leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Self-deceptive leadership is somebody who thinks they're a good leader, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always equipping them. It's always for their gain, not for the person that they're leading. I
Sure.
think the best leader is someone that can see the value in someone who other people can't see the value in, and knows how to effectively um, not motivate, but and not enlighten, but illuminate the possibility for that person so that they lean in to becoming what they want to become. Because here's the thing, a lot of leadership is like, we want to get everybody to this level,
Yes.
whatever. We
Yes.
want to get everybody to a 10.
Mm.
Well, you know what? Some people are really happy being fives and are fantastic fives.
Yes.
Some people you think are tens, but are really crappy people.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
they've stepped over a whole bunch of fives, six, sevens, and eights and nines to be a 10, and so I think that an effective leader is someone who cares about the person, the proximity, the culture, and not just the culture inside the work, but the culture outside. How do you make, how would you help create um, better players, teammates,
Mm.
employees, staff,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call them,
Sure.
not just in the workplace, but at home. Because let me tell you, if you've got home on lockdown, then a lot of your mental game and a lot of your stress by the time you get to work, you don't have as much of that, and
I agree.
you're not dragging in baggage to work. Whereas
Yeah.
a lot of it was like leave your life at the front door and forget all that outside so you can be, our little warrior in this workplace. And it's
Hmm.
like, man, you can't be two different people.
No. No.
So I think that's what I would say about leadership. Like, I think it's very easy to spot the ones who drive by fear and then the ones who drive by, I see who you are, and I'm so thankful that this is what because it's not always about revenue or
Hmm.
task completion. It's also about
No.
how that person makes other people feel on the team. Like
Hmm.
they could be the encourager, they could be the communicator, they could be the glue that holds it. I love so like
You're good.
I'm not a big basketball guy. I'm from
Sure.
Scotland, right?
Oh,
But
okay.
the Rodman, Pippen, Paxson, and of course MJ.
Yeah.
You're like that whole team individually, well, other than, like individually, very good players, but no one would think about bringing Rodman on that team. And
No.
then you look at Rodman, what he did, and how MJ brought the best out of him, and like
Yes.
how his respect for Pippen, And even, even when he messed up, like his way of
Hmm.
saying I'm sorry, like that's a winning combination. But there's very few people that can be on that bus, right?
Right. Right.
Because not everybody can be on
Yes.
the MJ bus, man. And that's what I'm
No.
talking about. So, he wasn't a 10, he was like a 15. And
Yes.
15 of like, I'm driving this team, I'm taking it here. Like everybody hold on, this is where we're going. So I
Hmm.
think in you've got to be a little bit more careful in this culture of like how to have a really effective team and culture that still gets the mission of the business, but is a solid team that cares about the person inside and outside. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's a fascinating subject because
Yeah.
obviously I think when you go around the world and you see like the Japanese culture, you see Europe how they work, and and America is kind of this die in the hill of we grind harder than anybody else. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
spit people out more than anybody else.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
I coming from someone who's lived in two different countries and grown up in the UK and Scotland and lived
Hmm.
a lot of my life since I was 17 over here.
Hmm.
I go back and forth on what the right answer is, but as a leader, the right answer is always the person in front of you. That's
Yep.
the right answer.
That's true. Yep. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. You nailed two things when you mentioned these. You nailed the first thing is when you said if to be an effective leader, if you don't have it locked down at home, then everything can just shatter, you know, before you even get to work. You nailed that one. That right there is the absolute truth. If you can't get your if you can't get your home together in that way to be an effective leader, there's no way it's going to be able to, translate into work.
Yeah.
That was the first thing you nailed.
Thank you. Yeah.
But the second thing you also nailed that that you mentioned when you talked about um, Jordan Rodman and Pippen. The one thing I want to ask you about that though, did you ever see that documentary, uh, The Last Dance? That was the
Mhm.
it was segregated into here's the thing about that. So The Last Dance was that team, Chicago Bulls, last year together, right? That was their
Mhm.
last year. So the coach, that was his last year on the team, and everybody else was pretty much pending. But the coach for sure was guaranteed last year he's going to be gone, right? If they
Yeah,
won a
it's gone.
championship or not. Yeah. So I guess they wanted to rebuild in that process, but the whole gist of that last dance was about that. So they documented their journeys of what they do and how leaders were. And they used Jordan and Pippen. That Jordan was more of the aggressive leader. Everybody looked at him differently, but the respect was whoosh, like you putting into numbers a 15. People say he's a pain in the butt, but he knows exactly what to do. He knows exactly how to win.
Mhm.
And then you had the Pippen. When Jordan had retired to go to baseball, you had Pippen. He was more of the laid back type. He was, mentoring. He was actually still bringing in the guys to actually, bring the best out of them. Jordan and Pippen were the same, but their analogies was different. Their leadership was different, with Jordan being the aggressor and Pippen being more laid back. And that's
Mhm.
what that documentary was pretty much about. And, bringing in Rodman and how they all got together, stuff like that. It's a good documentary. It's very good, especially when even though you're not a basketball guy, but that documentary was like literally about leadership, straight up. Not even going to sugarcoat that. That was about
Mhm.
leadership. And it was good on how you brought that up because that was 100% true to also in
Yeah.
in that form. So yeah, that was a good documentary.
Yeah.
And go ahead. You so say something. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
What I was gonna say was like I love seeing the guys who are the best at what they do. I
Yeah,
mean, I do. You love it.
sure.
But what I've realized is like, can you be the best at what you do and not burn down the rest of your life? Can you
Mm,
be a multidimensional man? And
yes.
I think the answer is yes.
Hmm.
I
Yes,
really do. And you
I
know
agree.
what? Talking to this next generation who care about purpose
Mm,
and about more completion than hours in the workplace, I think they're really onto something like a purpose-driven mission will always go further um, than a metrics-based mission.
yeah, yeah.
And when you create a purpose when you realize the purpose for your life, your family, your business,
Mm,
that's the glue that holds things together and it makes you this
hmm.
multidimensional person instead of like just being really good in one area. And
Hmm.
that's what I hold up and go, that's what I want to see. That's that's my thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, going back to what you said about having to unlock down at home. Anybody who's listening, if you didn't understand that or didn't really grasp what I was saying, think about the last
Hmm.
time you had an argument with your significant other and then had to walk into a meeting. Like,
Ooh,
and
yes.
you're going to drive to work after that argument, and you're still fuming over that argument, trying to walk into the workplace and with your head
Yes.
screwed on right. Like that is the perfect example of that. And we doing these Ocean 7 swims where I'm swimming 10, 12, 13 hours in open water and oceans. I
Hmm.
my wife, my Callie, my bride, she's my support. She's on the boat. And what we've learned is how to really effectively communicate. Even me, like this is crazy. Like even me 3 hours before a swim, having the leadership to say, we're 3 hours out for the swim. No more questions from anyone. Figure it out yourselves. We've gone over
Powerful.
everything. I need to not be answering questions from here on out,
Hmm.
unless it is a 911 question where we have to come
Correct.
together. But other than that, I figure it out because I need that mental space as I'm about to jump into 54-degree water for 13
That's
hours.
right.
I need that
That's right.
space as I'm about to jump in at 2:30 in the morning into 60-degree water and swim in 4 foot waves for the first 4 hours of a swim. Like you, you know, so having the awareness and the courage to be able to say to
Hmm.
your team, "Hey, for the good of us all, I need to not answer any questions." No. So I think it's been really interesting for us on this swimming journey because it's really strengthened our marriage and how to communicate under pressure
Yeah.
effectively, because we've already got our marriage on lockdown. Like we're good.
Sure.
She wants the best for me, I want the best for her, and
Absolutely.
both of our positions on the swims, and it's been great to see that. I tell you what, we also do home projects together. If you ever want to
Yeah.
if you ever want to test your marriage, do a home project together. You'll learn really quickly about if you're a good communicator.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're not lying about that. You're not lying about that. But I gotta ask you this.
Okay.
This is not even part of what I was gonna ask, but since you talked about swim, I gotta ask you, what does that do to your soul, man? You talk to me about what does that do to your soul when you out in the water, man? What does that do to you? What are you feeling once you're done? Like, walk me through that.
So when you're mid swim, you really learn how to be present in the moment.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at everything you've gone through already. Like, there's been swims where I've been wrapped up with Portuguese man o' wars, electrocuted by a shark shield, puking for three
Woo.
hours because
Oh my
the
goodness.
water's so wavy. It's pitch dark, there's 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 just seems like everything is going wrong.
Hmm.
But then you get present, you go, okay, hey Lord, you know, I'm here, I'm small, I'm minuscule in this huge body of water, but I know you're with me, and you feel his
Hmm.
presence and you feel, you know, if you watch the documentary, you'll get it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's on Amazon, Beyond the
Okay.
Shoreline, Channel of Bones. But there's a
Hmm.
moment where there's a prayer in that I share, and it's super powerful. Like it's crazy. But what you
Hmm.
realize is how very, very small we are in this universe, and
Yeah.
how you are not in your natural environment.
Yeah.
But it's a very fun environment for me. I love it. I
Hmm.
love being in the water. I love being in the waves, the big waves. I like when it's not wavy too. Those make for easier swims. Um, but what it does for my soul, it helps me to worship through a skill and
Hmm.
talent that he's given me, knowing that we're raising
Yes.
money for men after addiction recovery for our nonprofit Rising Tides mentorship ministry. It also
Hmm.
it's also saying, Jesus changed my life and my past does not define me. My
Yeah.
mess is my mission, so I can share that with others,
Yes.
it's this like knowing that he's using you to be a beacon of hope. Not
Hmm.
not that I'm the hope, that he's the hope and I can point to him.
Right. That's
So what
right.
it does for me is it lights my soul on fire, man. It's like, let's go. And it gets, I can tell you what, it gets hard. It is not easy. It gets
Yeah. It never
really,
gets
really
easy.
hard. And there's a couple swim, I'm like, I finished that by the grace of God, and I make
Yes.
sure to give him all the glory,
That's right.
not not by my power, but by his power. So it sets my soul on fire. I love it. Um,
Yes.
and then when you're done, you know, you have a very brief celebration, and then it's all about getting on the boat because you got to swim back to the boat every time.
Yeah.
Getting on the boat, getting dried off, getting warm, getting before your temperature just drops,
Hmm.
um, and you go hypothermic. But
Hmm.
yeah, the stories the have been amazing. The connections have been incredible. The growth in
Yeah.
our marriage and our and our friendships has been incredible, and we just see God's hand on it all.
Yes.
Because there's nothing I could have come up with. There's nothing I ever had planned.
Sure.
My plan was to keep the
That's right.
party going.
That's
You
right.
know.
Oh, you have to. No doubt about it. I was talking to Keith Cole last week, and one of the things that I mentioned to him was for me as a reminder, like not nothing for motivation or nothing like that. I always wear this right here.
Mhm.
It says Philippians 4:13.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I wear this now. I don't wear it now because I work in an environment called FedEx. This will break easily. So I have to leave it here. So
Mhm.
uh, I wear that as a genuine reminder. And Philippians 4:13 is pretty much what you go through when you're out there in that water. Like you said, it never gets easy. It's not going to get easy. It's like going to the gym. Like you go to the gym every day, you work out, you do your thing. And the more you do it, it could get harder and harder because your body is, I ain't gonna say begging for mercy, but it's like your body is like, I need rest more than anything. And yeah, I have to keep that on me because I know how hard things can be, right? Like when we're trying to be leaders and stuff like that, it could get hard. Going into the water, working out, doing whatever, it gets hard. It's gonna get hard. And you doing your thing, you doing it for cause too. So that that's very important too. And I respect that 100%. I really do. I really do for what you do.
But the
And
thing is, the swims are not the hardest thing I've ever done in life. Remember what I told you in the beginning? You know, like
the
my
addictions.
my hat's off to the single mom. My hat's off to the person who doesn't have all their health, but they're still chasing after it. You know. I hope we didn't just stall out.
Nah, I didn't.
But no,
If we
good.
did have a mind.
Yeah, but so I just think like we forget or we take for granted our hard, you know,
Yes.
and we forget that, you know, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, you know, like he will get us through that hard time. Um, and if you're listening to this, man, you might have had 99% of your days be hard, but you've made it through 100% of them because you're still here listening to them.
Mhm.
And um, and I think it's a huge faith and mindset shift when you
Yeah,
say, he's shaping me for something more. Because
absolutely.
my hard life is how I connect with people.
Hmm.
Now I made those choices. There's people who've had hard lives who didn't make those choices to have a hard life, and they've had a hard life, but
Yeah,
they can use that story to help and connect others.
yeah.
And that's where the strength really comes from. When the Lord goes, okay, your mess is your mission. Go use it, you know? Uh,
Mhm.
and that's why I share so much about addiction, grief, even divorce, like child visitation, because you just never know how it's going to hit someone and give them the encouragement to go, you know what? I can get up another day.
Yep.
You know what? I can go do that thing, whether it's I can go take that painting class, or I can go, serve at church, or I can go serve at that shelter. Whatever it may be, I can go do something for someone else because I know that I'm not taking today for granted.
Right. That is absolutely right. That is so, yeah, that's very thoughtful to put into perspective. And that's very important too.
Hmm.
Taking people for
Hmm.
granted, taking life for granted. It's, you have your repercussions for, you know, um, those type of things. And yeah, it could be a blow. So yeah, I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure.
It could be a blow. Uh, I want you to rate something for me real quick. Micromanagers. What would you rate them?
For me,
Yeah, for you. Absolutely. Your opinion. Your thoughts. Your opinion.
micromanagers for me are a um gosh, how can I say this nicely? They're a zero
I can't.
because they're not managers.
I
They're
agree. I
they're
agree.
um they're box checkers.
Oh
And
God, yes.
a box checker is not a manager.
Oh
A
goodness.
manager, like I said, is a leader. A leader is someone who um to that helps their people see the possibility and
Yeah.
create help the person create a plan for that possibility.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
some people are really good self-managers.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
but they can still be spoken into because we all have gaps.
Yeah.
And then there's some people who need more leadership and guidance and measure just because I think it comes down to belief.
Yeah.
They don't believe in themselves,
Hmm.
and the more you can help people believe in themselves and
Hmm.
what they're building and what they're chasing and what they're going after
Hmm.
as their belief grows, they grow. Um, but yeah, micromanagers are not managers.
I agree. Like if it was me rating them, if they had negative numbers, I'll rate them for real. Like because
I was
because
being I was being nice.
nah, you ain't gotta be that nice on this one, man. Sometimes you just gotta speak how you feel about some things, dog. So it's like, yeah, for me, I think I give them a negative number because here's the thing. This is what I've dealt with. Like I've I've been a leader. I've been a team lead. I've been a manager. I've been a supervisor. I've been, area director. I've been them. Okay, and the when I was working at the Goodwill, it's like a thrift store. There was this lady. I mean, she's the Christian woman. She was a nice person, but she was the micromanager. She was the oh God, she was the real strict micromanager, like everything like to the core. She had everything like planned out. She had, who's gonna take their break, who's gonna do this, who's gonna do that for the whole entire 8 hour shift. Now, me on the other hand, I was completely different from her. Employees did not like working for her. There was some that did, there was plenty that didn't. And when I would work a day shift, so to speak, at the Goodwill, I'll work a day shift at the Goodwill. People are more relaxed. They're more, happier. They're actually being themselves. And when she works a day shift, I feel the tension. I could come in to either do a night shift or a mid shift, and the tension was already there because of her micromanaging. And it was hard because it tensed me up, but I was still being myself at the same time because of her ability of being a micromanager. And that was pretty bad. It put me into a place where I had to a couple of times, as they would say in the professional words, bless her out. You know what I mean? In that sense, but it was more harder because it took me out of my shell. It took me out of something that, I didn't want to be. And instead of reflecting on it, I acted on it. And it was very rare that I did that, but there were times I had to do that. I had to, you know, speak some things into existence, give it a little reality. And because there was people, we have programs that, when people have to serve community service, she wouldn't let them do because she was a micromanager. And she had everything on lockdown on that behalf. And most people didn't even make their hours because of her. But then you had people like myself and then other leaders, they was able to push it through. But with her, dude, it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah. So the problem there is multifaceted. Um, I'm going to say you're the problem, she's the problem, and the person above her is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because the coaching did not, she wasn't getting the correct coaching,
I agree.
and yes, standards need to be upheld. The
Yep.
playbook needs to be played,
Yep.
but we need to coach and lead individuals as individuals.
Yes.
So, like in hospitality, when I was ending in hospitality, I was running a pretty big team and front of the house team, and our big thing and one of my greatest entrepreneurs, businessmen that I worked
Hmm.
with. Robert, I was just texting with him last week, but he was
Sure,
amazing.
sure.
Our big thing was this. It was like praise in public, coach in private, and
Hmm.
coach, 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 coach until you can't coach anymore.
That's right.
Because not everybody needs to have a seat in the bus, but coach them to find out what's the best seat, if there is a seat, and how they can really um, be performing on the team so that you're not having to micromanage.
Hmm.
That's so for her, I feel badly for her because she wasn't coached properly. She was fed to the wolves. Nobody was coaching her on how to coach. So she didn't have that example. I feel bad for you, but I also need to say you blamed her for her actions
I did.
and pointing the finger at her instead of going,
Hmm.
okay, so how can I help her get to a point where, and this is the macro level of thinking when we can all collectively get better
Yeah.
through coaching, guidance, communication. But what happens is people let things, they sweep them under the rug. It's the sweep
Yep.
under the rug. We're
Yep.
going to sweep it, sweep it, sweep it, sweep it. You see it in marriages, you see it in friendships, you see it in business. We're going to sweep it under the rug until, you know what, it's spewing out the other side.
Ah, right.
And then we're going to blame the person that caused us to sweep it under the rug
Correct.
instead of doing that self-leadership. It was like, hey, can you and I meet, maybe once every week or twice every week for 10 minutes. You get 5 minutes, I get 5 minutes. In your 5 minutes, you tell me everything about that you want to tell me, and I get 5 minutes, everything you tell you. And I used to do this with my team. Actually, I did. I gave them 6 minutes. I took 4 minutes, and because I had a
Yep. A number.
huge, huge team.
Yes.
But I made sure I was touching base with them every single week, and they knew not to um, let things fester to the point where they spew on the floor. Because if they spew on the
Hmm.
floor, that's not an argument you're going to win.
Right.
But if there's something that we can communicate and talk about, then I can coach you through it, or I can take that and say, you know what, that's a really good point, and there's nothing I can do about it right now, but I want to
Hmm.
think on it for another week until we get back together, and I promise I will come back with some sort of answer. If I come up with something before then that I think is really important, then we'll approach it and we'll
Yeah.
have an extra meeting.
Yeah.
But again, it all comes down to not being passive
Hmm.
and really stepping into those conversations. Um, because man, whatever facade people put on at work, you have no idea what's going on at their home.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that poor lady could have had she all she knew was control at work because
Yes.
everything was out of control,
Hmm. Yeah.
and everyone's looking at her like you're a monkey manager. And it's like, wait a minute, like she needs coaching. I need coaching. We need coaching
Hmm.
because we're all
Yeah.
sinners in the same place, just trying to do the best we can.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I hope that kind of answers your question, but I tend to go, okay, you just gave me a box, and all I can see is outside of that box,
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
because there's always a lot more going on.
And and that's the and that was the thing that I also felt myself like adding on to your point. The other bigger problem was, you know, I also put, you know, myself into that position because I really didn't, take the time to reflect after that, or I didn't even take the time to, look back on it and think, okay, like you said, what could I've done, better in this position, in this situation?
That's always the question.
Yes, that was, and yes, I blame myself 100% because I should have done that and reflected on that. That was something I should have done because instead, there were employees coming to me and taking their frustration or their complaints to me, or maybe just to vent in that way. about her, and because they felt like I should be able to, take a lunch whenever I'm getting ready, or, she's, over my shoulder too much in this point, or whatever the case is. And yes, I should have actually been more reflective and actually looked deeper into this problem instead of just being angry like I used to be and just lash out. And that for me was a point where I had to kind of turn things around. I wasn't 100% there yet, but I was, you know, turning that corner. And that made me realize that, you know, everybody's just trying to do their job, right? Everybody's working as a team. We're supposed to be a team. And for me, barely like in that case, not working as a team, but working individually and thinking about myself and the team never will work. That'll never work because this seemed like it's going to be a battle of, you know, managers versus employees or employees versus another employee, and it just be drama all over the place. So yeah, I've always, put myself accountable for those issues that happen. And that's why now I'm like, okay, I just need to, if I'm going to work, I just need to take a break and just, be an employee, just look at things a little differently. And yeah, it's helped. It has 100% helped. Now, my job now is no saints. There are no angels or nothing of that sort. They're just as, you know, unorganized as any other. But, you know, I just go in there and do my job, go home. That's how that's how I do it now. And now just focus on this and try to, get some wisdom off, incredible people.
Good.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I think anytime we can go to war with the man in the mirror,
Mhm.
um, and really look at our deficiencies over other people's deficiencies, then we can help make the environment wherever we are better,
Correct.
because we love to blame other people.
Sure do. And
And I might just be the only person on this entire podcast who does this. But I'm really good at, we talk about no judgment. People, oh, I don't judge. Yes, you do.
yes, you
We
do.
all do. You liar.
yes,
And,
we all do.
and we all lie because we say we don't judge. And it's like, it's so hard to just look in the mirror and see our own deficiencies.
Yes,
It is the hardest thing to
it
do.
is.
And, you know, and I th- like I said, go to the war with the man in the mirror. And you can only do that by really focusing on daily disciplines and habits,
Yeah,
growth, disciplines and habits. You know, so yeah, that's good. Just good stuff, man.
it is.
Trying
Yeah,
trying to trying to kill the ego is golly,
it's never easy, dude.
that's a never ending story. That one.
No, no, it's never easy at all. Uh, I got one last question for you, and we'll just
Hmm.
wrap this baby on up. What does it actually take for someone to become unbreakable?
Great question. To become unbreakable, is to truly understand that God created you for a purpose. And
Yes.
the thing is, I don't want anybody to miss that. Like it's my dad's tagline. I put it on my book. I stole it. I plagiarized it, and I'm glad I did because I love my dad.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just knowing that no matter what happens, there is a God and a creator over all things
Hmm.
who wants the best for you, who wants to be in a relationship with you. And I remember with my mentor, Mike Bowden, when we first started talking,
Hmm.
he asked me, he's like, "Hey, did you tell God about all your bad stuff inside?" And I'm like, "Man, he doesn't want to hear me whine. He knows all that. And he's like, well, what kind of relationship is it if you only bring the good stuff? And I think, I've coached a lot of men over the last few years, and the one thing they would all say is, no matter what they've gone through, how horrific it's been, I've always told them, take it to the Lord. And if you got to scream, yell, cry, talk, whisper, whatever, however you got to communicate with him, communicate him. He wants to hear it all. And that
Hmm.
starts the process of becoming unbreakable because you become redeemed. He starts to redeem you, and he starts to have this relationship with God thanks to the blood of Jesus. So then you step into this part of like recovery, where you start
Hmm.
recovering from the lifestyle that you've been living,
Yeah.
and the things that you've been doing, and it's been keeping you from a relationship with Him. And that's when you get into that recovery stage, you're like, wow, the lights have been turned on. Out. Now, so here's the hard part. It's like taking the red pill in the Matrix. Like once you're pulled out and the lights have been turned on, then you can see the warts, scars, everything, and it's very hard to go back. And you can't go back. So you
Yeah.
start moving into this resilience stage, and the resilience stage is that I'm going to be grounded every single day in spiritual habits, praying, reading my Bible, journaling, um,
Hmm.
worshiping. Physically, I'm going to sweat. I'm going to think about how I'm fueling my body. Am I getting rest? Am I stretching? Am I taking vitamins? Am I walk? What am I putting into this temple? Am I treating it like a temple, or am I treating it like a rundown motel? Like what am I doing? And
Yeah.
then you're leaning into your relational habits. Am I connecting with my loved ones? Do they know that I'm here for them and that I'm serving them? Am I reaching out to people in my network every day to say, I love you because of this, or I care for you, or you know what, my brother, I was just praying for you this morning, and I just wanted to let you know that I was praying for you this morning, and things like that, and then getting
Yeah.
into your learning about business because I think we all are given skills and talents to serve other people. So we're going to be in business, whether it's paid business or not paid business.
That's right.
Your skills are to serve others, and that forms this resilience stage where you're starting to step in and understand your purpose while you're here. And when you go through that redemption, recovery,
Hmm.
resilience, what happens is you start to when you first started the path, people are like, "Oh, you're crazy. You've changed. You're different." I'm like, "That's a good thing." You know,
Yeah, it is.
like, did you see me
Yes.
before? No one else was having a good time. I was, but
Yeah.
um, and you start stepping into this. The noise gets quieter,
Yeah.
and the purpose gets louder,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
broken become unbreakable, and the lost become found, and the hope gets louder and louder and brighter in a dark and fallen world. And that's what Unbreakable is. Um, and I'm just so thankful for the blood of Jesus
Yes.
covering me and redeeming me so that I can be in a relationship with God. I would not be
Hmm.
here if it wasn't for Jesus, my King.
Yes.
And I'm just going to drop the mic and throw my headset off and walk away on that.
There you go. Then
You
that's it,
know,
man. And that's
because
it.
I cannot add to that. You cannot add to the gospel.
You can't. You can't because I used to like I always was an angry person.
Mm,
I always had a reaction for everything. I always, you know, stay mad for whatever reason. And for me at that time, it felt good. Like
yeah,
me going off telling people and being angry all the time, that stuff felt good to me.
you
But
got
then,
addicted to it. You got
exactly,
addicted to an emotion.
exactly. And the problem came was when I wasn't feeling anything. I felt stuck. And when I felt stuck, I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this?
Mhm.
What in the world am I going to do? So when I stopped reacting to things, when I stopped getting angry about a lot of things, when I just actually started staying focused, that's when everything changed. Everything. It it just felt like a 24-hour turnaround, but it was really literally like months. And I was like, oh, I'll feel it one day, and then the next minute it'll just go up and down, and then it'll fluctuate. So 1 minute I'll be angry, 1 minute I'll be like, you know what, no reaction to nothing. So I'm just gonna stick to things. But it wasn't until, when I actually did just shut it all down, just did it cold turkey, just stay silent. That's when everything really, really changed. Like a lot of things
Mm,
happened. I started back up this podcast again in January. That's when, you know, people started emailing me, sharing their stories, wanted to come on, talk about things. I'm like, this is what happens, when you put your faith in Christ and when you actually believe in what you believe in, good things can happen. And it has been tremendous. I felt a big difference between the old me being angry versus now,
mm,
2026, where I could just, talk to other people and, you know, share the space to talk about these things. It's the greatest
beautiful,
feeling ever.
beautiful.
It's wonderful.
He's the game
And
changer.
yes, I love it. So with that, how you say your last name?
Leitch, Steve Moby Leitch.
Leitch.
Moby's
Where'd you
my
get?
grandpa name.
What's that?
Moby's my grandpa name.
I was getting ready to ask about that. Like, where'd
Yeah,
that Moby come from?
yeah.
Just
And I
see
was like,
Moby.
it's the Moby Dick, the book. So I'm glad they called me Moby. But
Yeah,
all to do because I'm very happy in water. So,
there you go.
yep, I'm really easy to find online if you want to stevmobyleach.net, beyondtheshoreline.org or Rising Tides Mentorship .com. Um, you can find like there's one Steve Moby Leach online. So you're super easy to find.
Sweet. Yeah. Because a lot of these other people, they're hard to find. You have to be Pacific too. So yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, but I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on and actually
It's been
talking
a
to me,
pleasure.
man. Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Your first question about the power or weak, did you feel powerful or weakness? That never been asked that one before. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, there we go. That's a good question. I really enjoyed that one. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
nah, yeah, man. Like I said, I just always try to just find different,
Yeah,
different ways to get into the people's minds. And if I don't do that, that stuff takes time. So I have to just really do it. And if I don't do it, it just would have been one little slow motion. So
beautiful.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. I appreciate it.
So I just did this the other day. I was like, so what was just in 1 minute or less, what was your takeaway from our conversation?
Oh gosh. Um, yeah, you put me on the spot on this one because nobody asked me this either. So what was that? What was that question again? What was
1 minute or less, what was your takeaway from this conversation?
the best takeaway? Was actually just listening to your story. Literally,
Mm,
just like your based advice on leadership and being able to speak on how um your struggles really turned into success and how you surviving support system, everything, like how you're just here right now talking your story where you could be anywhere else. And that was my takeaway of just how you just talk leader. You're
beautiful,
you're a real leader in leadership. I love
beautiful. Well,
it.
there we go. Thank you so much, Darrell. I
No, I
appreciate you.
appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you.